Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. I got a great guest today with Tyler Armstrong from the band Feel. They are a up-and-coming band, and these guys, you're going to be hearing a lot of them. They play great, great rock and roll music. I mean, just period in the conversation. I want to give a big shout out to our mutual friend, Greg Martin from the Kentucky Headhunters, probably one of the kindest, nicest human beings I've had the pleasure to meet. Greg, thanks for hooking us up. He's always been so supportive. We have a wing named after Greg Martin in the back there. So Tyler, primary songwriter and guitar player for the band Feel. Like I said, they're an up-and-coming band, and I assure you, I'm really happy to be getting them because, you know, moving forward, I'll have to go through the layers of people and, you know, but they're going to be making waves very soon. Honestly, it's a really good band, and I wanted to turn all my listeners on to them. If you like old school rock and roll with a unique style that includes blues, rock, some jazz, very tastefully done, great long jams and lots of breakups on natural breakup on tube amps, you're going to love these guys. Feel has an album out, an EP out actually called Live in St. Petersburg, which was made right down the road from me here at Janus Live in St. Pete, Florida. I was also lucky enough, Tyler shared a sneak preview of some of the band's new tracks, and excuse me, all I can say is we're all in store for some really good music down the road. I apologize about that, my son. Okay, let's do this. Thanks, Tyler. I appreciate you coming on the show. Sorry for that interruption, man. I'm really sorry. Thank you, man, for coming. So Springfield, you grew up in Springfield, Illinois. Describe Springfield and what was your childhood like?
I was actually just there yesterday visiting my mom.
Oh, how far is that? It's not that far from you.
2 hours.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, cool.
No, it's pretty close. It's probably 6 from Nashville.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
this is about 2. But man, I don't know. It's a classic thing of all your high school friends. Like, man, I can't wait to get out of here. I can't wait. You know. Then when everyone leaves, they're like, man, I kind of miss Springfield. So I always loved Springfield. Growing up, a town of 120,000. You
Oh,
go
wow.
somewhere, you're likely to see someone,
Small.
but you don't run the chance of seeing someone all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Knows your business, but you gotta be careful.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sort of- But it was a dream, man. Especially in my younger years, just growing up, baseball. Every day was like a summer night. Just laid back. It's a lot of seasons here in the Midwest. Obviously we have 4, but really intense extremes of each side of the seasons, and I just
Sure.
loved it all. It was eclectic, and there's not a ton to do, but it was the Midwest, man. That's all right. You
Yeah.
find things to do. You ride your bike. You play ball. You just hang out, man. And I loved it. I would love to. I'm begging my mom to always keep a house in Springfield because I always want to go back.
You want to go back?
It's home.
That's nice, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
it's interesting. You grew up on the East Coast, and I mean, I'm very grateful that I did, and I grew up in New York City, but it's so much more dysfunctional. Like everybody that I've met from the Midwest is so much more balanced of, we played baseball, we did this, we went fishing, we went hunting, we go to concert. It's just like a much easier, less stressful life there. Everybody's a little more balanced.
It's slower, man. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
Spent some time on the East Coast and specifically in the Richmond, Virginia area.
Sure.
And I love the history. I love everything. But then you start to go north to DC.
Maryland, DC. Yeah.
It's like, whoa, this is too fast for me, man. And
Right.
it's cool too. But yeah, the Midwest is just laid back, man. It's, the hometown of, it's not where he was born or grew up, but it's the hometown of Abe Lincoln.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
I have a lot of family connections to the Lincoln story and stuff. So growing up there too is just it prompted my love for history, which is a huge part of everything I'm about with music.
That's awesome.
Otherwise. So yeah, man, growing up in Springfield it was great. It's a great place to raise a family. I always say that.
You just posted something the other day about, didn't you revive an old festival?
Well, that's actually down in the St. Louis area. From 1969, I could carry on about this. From 1969 to 1980 in a town called Edwardsville, Illinois. There was a university opening there, Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville. There's one in Carbondale too that's a little bit more well known. Anyhow, to promote the opening of the school, they were like, well, let's do a concert series. And they would have the St. Louis Orchestra. And the excuse me, the first year they had Joni and Arlo.
Oh my God.
The band, actually, Bob Dylan's third public appearance back after the bike wreck was at this festival. And it's legendary. Everyone who, I can't say everyone because a lot of people are stoned, they wouldn't remember, but most of the people that played there are like, yeah, man, that natural amphitheater, there was always a ton of people. The Who played there on August 16th, 1971. It drew 30,000 people. It's a natural bowl, and from mid-May to early September, from 69 to 80, there was 2 to 5 concerts, sometimes 7 concerts a week. Like,
wow.
It was all the time. There was nothing like it before. There's been nothing like it since. And it was always substantial acts. And the cool thing about it is that the tickets, even back then, were cheap. The tickets were $1.50 to $3.50. You could bring your own booze and whatever else. And, it was just, the university was being very cool. It was a very laid-back period. They lost a ton of money. But it was just a very community. People from everywhere came. But if you mention the MRF, Mississippi River Festival in St. Louis, people will be like, oh man, yeah, I saw Yes there 3 times, saw Joni there 3 times, Eagles. And so basically what we've done is revived it. And this is the first year. It'll be June 22nd. And we just announced the lineup. I didn't have anything to do with the lineup, so there's no
But you revived it though.
I'm not the festival director or anything like that, but I am. This won't be my official title, but it's keeper of the vibes. I'm the legacy guy. I'm like, well, let's look back and see how they would have done it, because if it doesn't fly with nowadays or how it did back then, it's not the right vibe. We can't do 5 shows a week for 4 months with the way that bands cost nowadays. But
yes,
it's but yeah, I played a part in it. I'm not going to take credit. It's a bunch of us, but it's pretty doggone cool, man.
That is cool. Congratulations. That's
Thanks.
a really nice thing to participate in. See, that's what I'm saying. You guys in the middle, you're all balanced. In the East Coast, we're just like, just leaving your house and coming home. It's like so exhausting to just survive the day. You have time to like give back and think about things. We're just like, please don't shoot me.
Well, it's weird sometimes, but yeah, for the most part, the coolest thing, in my opinion, about the MRF related to my story is that the last show was ZZ Top in 1980. They were the last people to play. And my band was asked to open up the festival. So essentially, it's something I've been passionate about for
That's so cool.
5 or so years. And yeah, well, I'll be the first one to step on stage. And
when is the show? When is it?
June 22nd in a town called Alton, Illinois, which I'm in right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool.
June 22nd, man. Check it out. The Mississippi River Festival. That's awesome.
It's an outside amphitheater right on the Mississippi River.
And that sounds beautiful.
Dude, it's cool.
Congratulations, man. That's a job well done. Yeah, man.
We're excited about it for sure.
You should be.
Thanks, man.
So you mentioned baseball. I know you were really serious about playing baseball when you were a kid, like very serious. But what prompted you to switch passions over to music?
Well, I was always interested in music, but not in the degree of seeking out playing it. I, kind of just started pots, pans, whatever. I had a little CB drum kit when I was like 4, whatever, and like stabbed the drum heads with pencils and crap. But I always loved music. There's always rhythms and melodies going through my head. And just music going on all the time anyway. Specifically, my mom listened to a lot of like contemporary Christian music. But there was always melody-based music.
Sure.
Going on. So anyhow, yeah, I played baseball from ages 4 to like, I guess I would have been 18. And
that's a hell of a long time.
I love baseball.
Yeah.
I love playing it. I can't say I'm athletic anymore because I'm like out of shape majorly, but as far as when it comes to being able to run super fast and compete, but I loved being outside. I loved playing baseball, running around, playing football, basketball, anything. But what switched it is just simply the fact of me getting a guitar when I was 11, 12, I think, something like that. And I just loved it, man.
Just got addicted to it.
It's the first time that I wasn't doing my well, not the first time, but like really was not doing my homework, because I was literally playing 8 hours a day when I first got it.
Oh, that's so nice, man.
My parents would ground me from it for not doing homework, but they work, so I just sneak in their room and get it. And just
Sure.
But I started to miss practices, like baseball practices. I hardly ever missed games, but I did definitely miss some games for gigs when like I became like 13 and then into high school. And that's not cool. I mean,
No.
admitted, that's very uncool. But music's pretty cool. So
yeah,
I might have known back then too that I didn't have as much of a future in baseball. So I'm short. I'm a small guy, which doesn't mean everything, but I was also a pitcher, and I had wicked breaking balls, but I didn't throw very fast.
right.
Clocked out at like maybe 70, 72.
That's tough for nowadays. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I had a wicked 12.6. Good luck with it. But people on the next level can hit that all day long. But I was also a shortstop. I don't think that applied to it, but looking back, I probably knew. But it was just fun. I was doing it for fun, and but I'm serious about the things I have fun with. And I just love music, dude. With baseball, you have the the friendships, the brotherhood, camaraderie, like that's awesome. But I'm not really like creating anything. There's not a ton of innovation with that. So I think I like too that it's like I'm making something. This is creative. Sure. I don't know, but to answer the real question, there wasn't really one thing that happened except that I just had a guitar in my hand now.
And you just fell in love with playing it.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. And like I said, I've always been a drummer, not like a practicing drummer, but I can hold my own, and I think in drum parts and rhythms and stuff. But there's something about the guitar, man, that just like, I don't know, it's awesome, man. Everyone loves guitars.
Oh yeah, it's what? It's interesting because I've only been playing 7 years, and I really am starting to get into playing more over the last year, 8 to 10 months, and I'm realizing that there's going to be limitations on me because I didn't have the opportunity to sit in my room alone for 8 hours a day and playing. I mean, I would love to do, outside of hanging out with my wife, honestly, I love guitars, number two. And, if I've had a shitty day and I pick up the guitar at 7:00 and I play for a couple hours, it's like, everything's better, everything's, my head is just in so much of a better spot. So I really wish I would have had that. I shouldn't say I wish I would have had that time, but I could see you need that time to get good, bottom line,
Yeah, I mean, it was not a casual, occurrence for me. It was everything. It was
very deliberate.
Yeah, it was purposeful, like why I was playing it. And I don't know if I had any dreams. I'm sure I was like,
hey guys, if you're a musician, composer, artist, or songwriter, and you've always thought about or wanted to get involved in the profitable world of music licensing, but you just don't know how to go about doing it, then listen up. A new video has just been released that shows you exactly what music licensing is, how to get involved with it, and how to make your first placement. Or if you've already made some placements, you'll also discover how to create a system that lets you make more placements more consistently. This free training video is called Where the Money's Hiding in the Music Business, and you can find it online at musicreboot.com. This video shows you how to create the financial stability you've always wanted and how to take advantage of the current explosion of opportunities in music licensing due to streaming and the internet. So check it out online now at musicreboot.com.
For 2 years of my life, I was in the WWE.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like a professional wrestler?
I wasn't in it, but I was into it.
Oh, you were into it. Oh, okay. I thought you said you were in it. I'm like,
No.
Whoa, this guy's you're a renaissance man. Baseball, WWE,
I would have
music.
literally like died. I would have been destroyed. There's no way.
Yeah, those
But
guys are monsters.
in it. Yeah, I have a friend. His name's Austin Connolly, and just goes by Connolly back in my hometown. And he's kind of making strides in professional wrestling. And I think
Is
it's
he?
the coolest thing ever. I'm like, yeah, I buy all of his merch and stuff. So anyway, I in wrestling, they're like, yeah, the pile driver, oh, that move, whatever. I remember sitting in my room playing fake songs and being like, ah, Tyler Armstrong band played. Like, I could picture in my head, like, some excitement within and people watching and stuff. But I don't know if I was playing guitar deliberately, like, for that. I don't know if.
It's such a good feeling to play music, though, man. I mean,
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm
such
trying
a
to
good
think back
feeling.
as to, like, what made the switch and why. But I literally just think it's because I had.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, man. But then you started. This was interesting. You started writing your own music shortly after you've been playing, and that's extremely unusual for like a 9 or 10-year-old child.
Well,
Why do you think you did that? Like, what motivated you? And how did that even come about? That's just not like common.
Well, so the stuff when I was like 9 or 10, I don't know if I would have had a guitar then, but I still had fake bands. My first band was called Michigan. It was with these two dudes I went to elementary school with, and I knew
That's actually a cool name for a band, man.
Well, it's like I knew Boston, I knew Kansas and stuff.
Yeah, Michigan.
And stuff. So, and I liked Michigan football, like the Wolverines.
Right, yeah.
Football. So I was like, might as well. And I was writing.
Are you like a Tom Brady fan?
My Wolverine passion doesn't go that far back, but it's kind of a weird area of Michigan football. But I mean, he's kind of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
I don't want to get it. Whatever. I don't know if he'll ever hear it. So it's kind of like when people become a personality in sports and stuff like that, it just weirds me out. Like, it's like, just play. I mean,
just play.
Yeah. So anyway, but I would write fake songs then, but like didn't know how to play anything. I saw that little drum kit, and I had an acoustic guitar when I was little, but I took 2 lessons and nothing happened of it. Little meaning like 4 or 5.
Oh,
so I had that kind of banging around. It was broke. The neck was off of it, but I still faked it. And I will say that the first day I got a guitar, I remember writing something. It was just open strings. And I guess now thinking about it, it was open E, G, B, E. So it's technically like an E minor chord.
Sure.
Right? Or like some sort of C major 7 weird thing. But like, I remember my mom saying, okay, Tyler, time to eat. And I'm like, wait, no, give me a second. I'm figuring this out. And I guarantee it was crap. But like, from the first time I had the guitar, I was thinking like, wow, I'm putting something together. But when I was younger, I was always like, general childhood imagination stuff, like writing short stories. I was creating characters and like acting them out either in my head or like outside while I was playing.
Right.
We literally had a sandbox that I would like, do little things. And so I think just the idea of creating something, and music was just a natural thing. I mean, music is very natural. It's anything that makes a sound, a frequency is music, even if it's a jet.
Sure.
That is sound, and that's music.
Frequency, absolutely.
So it's just existent anyway.
So this is the second time you mentioned about creativity. You said the thing that didn't, let's say, put you off baseball, but the thing that was more of appeal to you about music was the ability to create something. So obviously you're just inherently like an extremely creative person. Like if it wasn't music, it would have been like you said, writing short stories or, painting or doing something creative.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse because when you're like that, you always have to do it. And then,
yeah, it's been
you got a million projects going on at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt with that part. I used to play video games like Madden football and MVP baseball and stuff like that. And I always created a franchise. So it was
What do you
always
mean?
something like I was putting together, and someone might call me a control freak or something like that because of it. But I don't know. I just I mean, we all start with creation, yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's just a celebration or an extension of just life in general.
Could be. Yeah, for different people. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean that's getting a little hippy dippy, but like maybe I don't know.
I don't know either. What the hell? Who the hell? I don't have the answers. Trust me.
It's fun to think about. Yeah.
So then you start doing sessions when you're the ripe old age of 15. How the hell did that happen? And like, how did you get gigs? How did people find out about you? And after that, what was the most important thing you got out of that experience?
So, I have to really think about the timeline, but I started playing in jazz band when I was 12.
In school?
Jazz, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
My middle school jazz band. My middle school had like award-winning bands. We were like a technology school for Apple and stuff like that. So it was very much a like
Right on, man.
arts focused thing. Yeah, it was awesome experience for sure.
Yeah.
So I started playing jazz band. I say that in quotes because like it was basically like standards like Satin Doll, Louie Louie, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But I knew a guy.
It's like if it had a saxophone in it, it was a jazz band. Because I played saxophone when I was a kid, and we didn't really play jazz, but it was just you had horns and stuff, so it was a jazz band. Yeah,
So just stuff like that, and I didn't know how to play most of the chords that were on the charts, but kind of faked it, or just I always say the best thing about electric guitar is it's got a volume knob, man, and I down and not up. I met a dude named Kylan that I went to middle school. He played bass, and I met a guy named Caleb who eventually played drums. We're all real close, and we started a band called Midnight Rush. And we loved Rush.
Another good name.
Yeah, well, I was like, man, we need a band name. It's like, what are we doing right now? And we were watching the Rush's Fly By Night video, but it was midnight. I was like, Midnight Rush, might as well.
There you go.
So there's that, and I mentioned all that to say, like, we were, I mean, as well known as you can be in Springfield, Illinois, for being basically a novelty of we were playing 2112 and Whole Lot of Love, like. Not
That's
necessarily
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we played it too well, but we certainly tried. And so the word got out, and I guess I don't know how I met up. The first session I ever did was with a guy who was my age named Zach Fetter, and he kind of played I guess Americana kind of folk based stuff. And at the time I was like Eddie Van Halen out. I was just like. So two things there. That's how I first got it. That's how I got into it. And what I got from it is that, I can't do that on everything. I can't, it was the cliche of playing for the song, but that's the big thing I learned from it.
Yeah.
And then also just expanding. It's around the time I got into the Beatles. And when I got really deep into the Beatles, I realized that pop music since 1964, everything was based off what the Beatles did. So it was like all these, I hate to say weeds, but like all of these, things stretching out to each other. So I was listening to all different kinds of music at that point. So what sessions did for me was expand my listenership and how I viewed playing.
Right.
It wasn't about, I guess, what I can do anymore. It's what I can like provide.
Yeah, what you can add. Right. I totally get that. Man, you just said something before that was pretty profound for me anyway. You said we were playing 2112 and Whole Lot of Love, I think you said, right? Mm-hmm. And you said, I don't know how good we were, but we had a lot of fun. That's what you have as a child player that as an adult, I wrote this down here because my teacher said it once, don't overthink, just play it. And as an adult, I'm too preoccupied with, I wouldn't say getting it right, but understanding what I'm doing. And like my teacher's always like, Craig, he goes, you have a great ear, just play the music. You know what to do. And so I have to, it's like a mental game getting over I'm trying to get confidence the wrong way. I need to get confidence by playing, not by oh, okay, this is an A minor seventh, or a B7 sharp. It doesn't matter. I just need to play, and that's, I think, what you get as a kid, because you don't give a shit. Like, being right, why would that be important to a 15-year-old?
Oh yeah, I was
It's
definitely wrong.
yeah, but you had fun, and that's the whole point of music.
It was fun.
Yeah, good lesson for me to learn. Thank you.
Serious, and we thought we were going to take over the world, that sort of thing. So it also caused issues. So early on, I learned that, whoa, man, like, different personalities. It doesn't always go with what I write. Isn't always
interesting
how it ends up sounding, and a lot of the times what I write, it ends up being the case. But yeah, just strong personalities and this sort of thing. Just passion in general. Even the quiet guy has an opinion.
Yeah, sure.
But it was
sometimes I would assume it comes out better than you thought as well. When someone else yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it definitely can.
So talk about the band. Talk about Feel. How long have you guys been together, and what's been the biggest challenge for the band in navigating what's definitely a very difficult music business nowadays?
Yeah. Well, so the band, I was in another band. I own the studio with a guy named Nick Bufano. We're also associated with the MRF, the music festival, together. We're super tight. We were in a band together, and TJ, the drummer of Field, was asked to join that band. I'd probably been in it for a year and a half. I just started writing all the material, and the majority of it, and it just wasn't the same style as the previous output was, and that stuff was great. But it just became the point. It was someone's name, and it's like a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers thing, and I was like, we just have to change the name. We have to have a redesign of everything. And from there, that fell apart, but that's what turned into Feel.
And how long ago was that?
Well, that first band, I was like 19. So that was like
9 years ago?
Something like that.
Yeah, okay.
And, but the actual formation of Feel, like as it is now, when we had, like released music to the public, like 3 years.
Oh, wow. So you've done all this. You guys have built this momentum in 3 years. That means you've been working your ass off.
Well, not to pat ourselves on the back. Yeah, we are very hard workers, or to make anything bigger than what it seemed. Really, so we had played regionally with Cheap Trick, Rival Son, some local stuff. And honestly, we made waves with some people. Like Keishi is a big legendary radio station. And we got played on there. I have some friend named Favaz, who's a DJ there, and just other people who kind of knew what was up. But really, locally, it's not like they weren't digging us. I just don't think people were coming out to see us. So with that said, things really started happening for us in sort of September of 2023, but really November of 2023.
That's only 6 months, 11. Yeah, it's 6 months ago.
Things have been happening pretty quick. I mean, we're not the biggest band on earth, but it has been progressing rapidly.
Dude, you did like how many shows did you open for Blackberry Smoke?
We did 2 runs with them. It was 6 shows total, but it was like outside of our area.
How'd you get that gig? The opening slot for them?
So, long story short, I'm very into vintage guitars. It's a big part of my life.
Hey, let me take this opportunity to plug something, actually, that Tyler won't plug. He actually owns or is involved in a vintage guitar clothing and vinyl shop in St. Louis. It's called Blue Note Vintage. So for those of you in that St. Louis area, definitely check it out. And he knows this. I mean, we spoke pretty extensively before this. He's like a vintage guitar wizard, hold on a minute, man. He's a vintage guitar. Watch this.
Whoa, holy frick.
That's Tyler with vintage guitars.
That was awesome.
I know, it's not me. It's someone did it the other day. I'm like, what the hell? I thought it was like, like spirits in my computer. It's just a thing Apple has. But yeah, so check out his store, Blue Note Vintage, if you're in the St. Louis area. It's got vintage guitars, vintage clothing, and vintage vinyl. So sorry, man. That being said,
yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, so through that I met Charlie Starr in Blackberry Smoke, and he was coming. They were coming through town, and
wait a minute, through your shop?
No. This was I worked at a vintage guitar shop called Killer
Oh,
Vintage.
okay. And then Charlie came in.
Well, no, I think we knew just each other through Instagram, probably.
Oh, okay.
And they were coming through town, and we just were chatting a little bit, and basically he invited me out to the show, and we were hanging out on the bus, and just I brought some guitars for him to check out, just to, like, my personal guitars. Like, I was proud of him. I have some.
Yeah, he's a vintage guitar, Gibson vintage guitar nut. Yeah.
And TJ drummer was there as well, so I met Benji that night. I also met Britt, and Britt was the best dude ever. That guy was so cool. Yeah,
it was a young guy to pass, man.
Yeah, and any of it's unfortunate, but he passed the same thing my dad did.
You had told me that, man. I'm so sorry about that. That's just.
I appreciate it. He's around the same age too. My dad was 59. It was weird stuff. Anyhow, so TJ and Britt hit it off, drummers and stuff like that. But we all stayed in touch, and when Garrett, the new singer of the band, we had a different singer, but Garrett joined in April, but we released music this past April of 2023. We released music August of 2023, and
was that with the new singer or the old singer?
Yes, yeah, okay. His name is Garrett. And when Garrett joined the band, we kind of had no shame. We're like, we're getting this ball rolling, man. Like, we're doing it, and we just reached out and basically, like, what would it take, guys? Like, we know we're not doing like a whole lot to make it beneficial.
You actually reached out? Good. Holy shit, man.
Well, so it started off with TJ and I. TJ kind of was like, I want to take the handle on, sending all the emails and booking and stuff. I'm like, cool, man. I'll focus on the music. Like, we're a really good team in that regard. And
yeah.
So yeah, we both.
He's a drummer.
Yeah. And
that's unusual.
He's a driven dude. We're a good team.
That's great, man.
Heads, but it's
happens. It's for the greater good of the relationship,
100%. It is I welcome it. So, but anyway, we both agreed. We're like, man, if we got to send these people 10 emails, we're gonna do it, and we're just gonna annoy them so much that they get back to us. And sometimes it worked, but anyhow, Britt was like, yeah, talk to our manager. And we got the run set up, and they took a big fat chance on us, and they loved it, and so did their crowd. I mean, the Blackberry Smoke.
It's totally compatible. Yeah,
we're not super southern, but I mean, Blackberry Smoke's a rock band.
Yeah, there are vintage guitar tones. Yes, definitely.
So I mean, it went as simply as that, but it was years in the making of just like forming relationships and just being cool. And we didn't expect anything from them. We just asked. And that is rare. That is super rare that you get a chance like that. But they liked it enough that we got another run, and they want to do more in the future. And they are the coolest dudes on earth. I've had the
nice guys.
Opportunity to meet a lot of folks in music and guitar and stuff like that. And a lot of my people I look up to. And those guys are the best dudes.
They're very nice guys, both of them.
No ego.
I don't know Benji, but
Benji, I know. Dude, if you talk about someone who's laid back and down for anything, Benji is the coolest man of all time. I saw him the other week and talked to him about some stuff we had going on, and he texted me the other day, just like, "Hey, how'd all that stuff go?" I'm like, "Come on, man,
what
like
a nice guy."
Yeah, they're
people.
They're not Charlie or Benji and Blackberry Smoke. They're my friends Charlie and Benji.
Right.
And it's very cool, and their mindset about things relates very much so to my Midwest mindset of living. It's like, cool, man, right on.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
hey man, but let's take a step back for 1 second. You said 3 magic words. We just asked. And people are so, especially musicians, they're so afraid to do that. And it's unfortunate because, it's that old, what comes to mind is that I'm not a hockey guy, but Wayne Gretzky has this famous quote, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. Guess what? All you did was ask. If you didn't, you might not have got it, but if you didn't ask, you certainly never would have got the gig, So you guys literally changed your entire life.
Yeah. Well, it helped that they were aware of the band and they were fans.
Yeah.
And all of that, but it's,
but if you didn't ask, they weren't going to, they probably wouldn't have called you. Management probably wouldn't have called you.
Yeah, I'll say it again. It's a rare thing. I encourage everyone to do it.
Absolutely.
I will say 99.9% of the time it's not going to happen, but it was just one of those things, man, and that's cool. I'm not somebody of got to talk to my manager, and I hope I'm never that way. I don't think I would be. But so I'm saying I'm not at a societal level of note to be able to be like, anyway. But there are folks who want to know about like my gear and stuff like that, and I won't tell them all the secrets, of course, but reach out, man. Like I reach out, I look at all of my Instagram requests and stuff like that. So it was just encouraging too. It's like Smoke is at a level that they're essentially doing the same thing. Like they owe me nothing,
right?
And it's just cool, man.
That's great.
There's so many cool things going on. There's so many things on a spiritual level of, wow, not like stair step like on people, but like, wow, this is adding up. This is adding up, and it just, I don't know. We're just
people, man. One step at a time. That's it.
Yeah, some of us are just playing to quite a few people with a guitar in our hands, but like, I view every gig that I'm at the Stagger in Edwardsville, Illinois, just 150 college students with sticky floors and playing Allman Brothers. It's like, if I don't feel the same way about Madison Square Garden maybe someday as I do Stagger, or that I'm just walking on a Stagger stage, like I need to get a grip.
Yeah.
The Smoke dudes are the salt of the earth. They're so cool, man. And you won't hear anyone say anything bad about them.
Nope, never. They're all nice guys. Yeah. What's cool. Interesting, I saw this, I think it was on Instagram. And this guy was talking about, he was a celebrity, he was an actor. And he was talking about, he goes, listen, make no mistake. Once you get popular and once you're well known, everybody's going to like you. Everyone's going to want to buy you a drink. Everyone's going to want to shake your hand, and everyone's going to want to know your story. But keep in mind, this has nothing to do with you. It's about the power that you have, the celebrity that you have, and the attachment that other people have to that power and celebrity. He goes, they don't know you. It has nothing to do with you. He goes, please keep that in mind. And I think it helps if you're like that to be, like as you just said, you mentioned, you're going to have, as you go up the ladder, you're going to have less inclination to deviate from that. Whereas if you're like a big ego guy to begin with, forget it, all hell's going to break loose for you when you get up that ladder.
Like specifically after my dad passed 3 years ago, yesterday actually.
Oh wow.
I was just like, this isn't everything. This is what I'm doing. This is my vehicle to talk about what I'm wanting to talk about. The truth that's been given to me and all of these things. And like my dad he ran all the networking for the state of Illinois.
Oh wow.
And, yeah, he was a BAMF. He was, in my opinion, kind of, from that standpoint, a little bit nerdy, but like he was the coolest dude ever. I could go on and on about my dad. And but he worked in a cubicle. He worked in, work calls on the phone. He'd drive to Chicago to work on this switch and back. He'd go to things to train people. And he after he passed, I not as much anymore. It's been 3 years out, but I was getting calls from people I didn't know, Facebook messages, texts from numbers I didn't recognize, just saying like, Joe made such an impact on me. I use it in this area of my life. I'm literally like over 1,000 people. And
Wow.
so my mindset is like, if I can't view this, my dad did this in a cubicle, man. If I think I'm great because I'm playing in front of all, people, there's so many people else that are like,
Right.
there's always a bigger gig, there's always whatever, and like, if my vehicle through music is to preach about myself, I mean, I can look in the mirror and do that. I don't got to be on stage.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
I get you.
So it's an interesting it's just an interesting thing. It's psychology.
Yeah, no, and you got to be on top of that stuff. I think it's funny. I remember when I took my kids. I have 3 kids, 2 sons and a daughter, and my daughter just didn't pertain to because she didn't care about lifting heavy weights. But when my kids, the boys are young, they want to lift heavy weights, and I said, listen, there's always going to be somebody here who's going to kick your ass. I said, just have fun, do what you need to do, and don't pay attention. And thank God they both did. They weren't like, no, I want to be the best. I want to be the big, whatever. But yeah, I think that's important to just, be in the moment, be happy, and
totally, man.
What you're saying.
My dad. 2 things that stuck with me majorly that my dad said when I was younger. When I played baseball, I was obsessed. I was fast, man. I was like really fast. But I was obsessed with being the fastest. And I knew I was the fastest on the team, but I remember asking one time, like, Dad, do you think I'm faster in Austin? And he was like, I don't care if you're faster in Austin, just be the fastest you can be.
Yeah.
And he also said, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but it ended with him saying, to be worried about filling your own shoes, dude. Like,
yeah.
Don't fill mine. Don't fill anyone else's. There's no legacy to live out. Just fill your own shoes.
Be happy. That's cool,
yeah,
man. Was there like any particular I guess my question is, was there any kind of break that helped you guys get your name out there? But I got to believe it was opening for the Blackberry Smoke guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first run was awesome. And we released an EP from one of the shows that you mentioned, St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
That was a very hot, sweaty night.
Dude, it's hot and sweaty every night there, except for maybe 2 months a year. I stopped going to Janice for that reason. It's like,
oh yeah,
when they oversell it, and I'm not really a beer drinker, and everybody's like drinking beer and spilling shit, and like I'm too old to deal with that now, man.
Smoke shows are like, they're you don't see fights, but like it's like people are hyped to be there. But that specific show, because you're surrounded by all those brick apartments and buildings and stuff, super hot.
Can you imagine living there?
Yeah. Oh, it probably sucks. You got that weird club going right behind it.
Right behind. And on the Friday nights or Saturday nights, because we hang out in St. Pete once in a while, we'll go down there for a Saturday night or a Friday. They have that that booming till like 1 a.m, man, and it's like not fun when you're trying to get some sleep in your hotel.
There's a picture of it. We're waiting to go on stage, and to get, I don't know what it was, but I don't know if it was a bathroom that was back there or like extra stock that the club had, but they went through right behind the stage to where the stock or the bathroom was, and we were just thinking like anyone at any time could walk out of there and just go on stage, but they're probably so messed up they don't even know it. But anyway, man, that show was just crazy, and I don't know how many people we ended up counting, but there's like 6 different incidents of people getting escorted. This lady was fighting cops. She was drug out.
Wow.
She was like, I'm never coming here again. I love Blackberry Smoke. Dude, awesome. We have a video of it.
It's funny.
It's insane. But that first run with them was great. I mean, that really not only introduced folks to us, but it kind of gave us some confidence of like, well,
hell yeah,
good, but like, man, we're up there, and like we're commanding this crowd. Like they were with it from every low and high point of the set, and it was great. Then we did another run with them. I guess it was in February. Mm-hmm. Around that time, there were some things going on in social media land that just like took off and started bringing us some more attention. And
you know what? It was clips from that video, because that's how I found you. I heard these clips. I'm like, because I'm always looking for, to check out new music. And then if I like it, maybe that, I'll have the individual on the show if they're open. And I heard those. I was like, who are these guys, man? Cool. So I was part of that. Whatever I don't know if they were paid ads, but if they were paid ads, they were money well spent because
we've done, we maybe done one or two, but we did it after everything kind of started to catch some attention. So those first ones were just organic.
It was great because I was like, who? And then I was frustrated because I saw, man, they were playing here in St. Pete and I didn't know about it. Funny story, I saw Blackberry Smoke open for Mule, Government Mule at cool. Janice quite a while really? Back. Yeah, it was quite a while back, at least.
Well, I had asked him, Paul Jackson in the band, it's like, you guys played here many times? He's like, yeah, I bring 2 extra fans for this gig. That's really hot.
It's gross there. That's what I'm saying. I stopped going. It's so hot.
I loved playing there though. From on stage, like
yes, I could see that.
Man, it was great. I'd play there again for sure. I just bring more talents and whatnot. But it was around that time, and we have a great team, man. Like our media team is a guy named Cameron Alvers. He owns the Shift Agency here in town. And all the professional videos you see that are cut are from him. He is world class.
Yeah, he did a really good job.
We do all of our own audio, all of our own mixing is in house as of right now. So anything you hear is done by us.
We say us in your studio in Harbor.
Yeah, or at where TJ lives.
Okay,
not far from here. TJ has an audio background. I have a lot of studio background, so it's been a great marriage with that.
That's great.
Yeah, so anything you see with that, I don't know if there's one thing that has been doing it per se. It's just I think people have kind of found us organically, and they dig it. We're very authentic. I've been saying lately that when I thought about being in a band when I was 13, I didn't know it was this, but this is the band I was thinking about.
That's really cool.
The dynamics of it. It's people think of the 70s as like when they think about rock bands, like maybe later on in the 70s, it was a little bit harder, but like all the time. But man, if you want to talk about Zeppelin, like
Cream,
stuff like that. Crosby, Stills and Nash was a rock band, even though they're
absolutely
mostly there was dynamics, there was the ups and downs, and all different kinds of music too. So I think that's something we nail, is that even though the stuff we have released right now is on the heavier side of things, it still has dynamics that though all rock music is still great, I'll stick by that, but I don't think there's many bands doing it quite like that bring the dynamic experience of why I think it relates to people so much. The dynamics in music, specifically rock music, is because rock music is the culmination of all genres. Like when you listen to jazz, there's not rock influence in it, but if you listen to rock,
it's jazz, right?
Jazz, blues, R&B, all this stuff. So I think about it as like the emotions of life. You have good days, you have bad days, happy times, sad times, funny times, whatever. And rock music at its core, the best kind, lets you live within that escape. Like I can relate to that. So yeah, I just think people are digging that we're all authentic.
Well, I think the music's great, and that's, I mean, if I don't care how good your video production is. If the music wasn't that good, it would just be like, that's your response would be, in line with that. But the closest, I mean, to describe to people listening, you don't sound anything like the Allman Brothers, but they're the closest band I would relate to, because they'll spin off and they'll do jazz, R&B, and it's very hard to incorporate that authentically. And you guys are doing that on a very consistent basis.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, it's one of those things when you write music and release it. I when I was growing up and still like listening to music, I would listen to hours, just minute details of things. I would always catch them. Like, Here, There, and Everywhere, the Beatles.
Beatles,
One
yeah.
time where the harmony that Paul does shifts. It's ascending and descending. And if somebody does not nail that when I hear him do it, it kind of aggravates me. So, like, when I'm releasing music, I want to know that people are hearing, like, man, I love that specific delay you did. Or, this sounds like we have a song. I won't say what song it is because I want people to find it themselves. But it's a song that has a very specific title that if someone who's deep into music, especially 60s and 70s stuff, would relate it back to another very specific title that came out in 1969. And I've had a couple people say, did you call it that because of this song? I mean, like, you got me. You caught me, but I love that.
Now I want to pull up let me just pull up. I should have had it here.
I'll tell you. I won't tell you.
Okay. You can tell me afterwards.
I actually got to plug my charger in one sec.
Yeah, man.
Sick. Thank God.
Awesome. Thank you.
But anyway,
Well,
yeah, I love that stuff.
Now you're talking about tracks. Let me talk about a few of the field tracks I really dig.
Okay.
So the first track is Brother. Incredibly cool blues jam, and you in particular are just like ripping it up in there, man. Tell me about that track.
So I'm not into like political statements. I mean, obviously people need to make political statements to make things happen. But me personally, I don't need anyone to know my views about anything.
Yeah,
but I will say I'm generally middle of the road. I think that's a pretty Midwest cop out to say, but I am pretty
yeah,
middle.
Who wants to take a side and if you're like have any kind of celebrity?
Well, yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, unless you're like gonna pound that drum, and I think it is good if you want to do that because you get a lot more. Like I'm the same way. I never discuss this, and I know if I started discussing it, probably more people would want to hear like outrageous opinions, but I don't give a shit about like just don't feel like discussing. I'm not even particularly educated in politics, so I don't really feel comfortable discussing it.
Yeah, I stay pretty clear of all of it. But
yeah,
even in the middle of the road, I can generally see the point that each side is making, in general. And so Brother came about when some stuff was happening in the media and some stuff with, some people were dying. And people weren't sure if it was justly done or what. And the way that it was handled by a lot of folks was, very civil, but also when you have outrage, people, how should I word it? Act in great passion. And
they act like assholes.
Well, they want to be heard, but it might not be in the way that somebody that I would do it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. Getcha.
Two ends of the spectrum. So essentially, Brother came about when I was sitting on the couch one day, and there was a serious unrest. Right? I mean, this would have been 2019, 20, something like that, and
so before COVID.
I think.
Okay.
And anyhow, I just wrote it from that middle perspective. it's it talks about, the sunshine, colors, and rain on the world today, questions of skin and the human race. To live as one, can it be done if you can't go outside and make it home? So that's definitely
That's
one.
heavy, man.
That's thanks. And I wasn't
Yeah,
even
that's
high.
good.
I don't even smoke weed anymore, man. It just happened.
It doesn't
And,
make you a bad person.
but no, I just don't anymore. But because if I did, it probably would have been like mushrooms are gray and trees are. But
Yeah, I don't know how people do much if they're stoned. I got to be honest with you, man.
I had my time when I was young.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but then on the other perspective, I can just run through the lyrics. It helps me to think about it too. Love is an ocean and let's sink down. Let the love flood in when your brother's on the ground. The second verse kind of comes from the other side of things, of like the people that have been hurt and what I feel I had to say to them or whatever. It's my friend walked down the street with your sign held high, but let the only fire be in your heart and mind. It, let this be the day, conjoin and all this kind of stuff. It was my way of just saying what I had to say without getting on Facebook and
Yeah.
We are all trying to get to the same, even the outcome, whether somebody's doing the outcome from themselves or for a group. They do want the same outcome, which is peace. It just might look differently to different people, and it's people have related to it with issues of race. People have related to it of your brother being on the ground, of military things, and I think that's cool. I know what it's about to me, and I know it's a cliche of like whatever you want it to be, man. That's what it's about. But hey, man,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, either way, it's a song of unity and peace, and there is a lot going on out there. There always had
way too much going on. And I know, and social media just sticks it in your face. That's the problem. So people are reminded of it 24/7, and it's like nobody should be. You should detox from that shit.
Yeah, but it's related as far as the guitar stuff goes. I guess intense song calls for intense.
Yeah, your playing was great on that, man.
I appreciate that. It's definitely a fun song to play, but it's definitely a song that's it's up and down. The dynamics. It's an emotional song, and it's I like it. I hope we always play it. It's it's kind of musically. A lot of people say it's like free, and it's like, well, I love free.
Yeah, free is amazing.
Back away from someone saying it like this, but we put our own thing on it. We get pretty intense with it, and I'm glad you like that song.
Oh, I love it. It's a great track.
Thanks.
I also loved "There You Go." I mean, I love songs that are put together like that. It's basically like an 11-minute jam. Everybody gets to shine. And I was curious, is that because it's a great closing song? Is that your usual closing song?
No. Is it last on the EP?
Yeah, I think it must be. Otherwise, I wouldn't have asked you. Yeah, There You Go is last. Correct.
It's actually, if we do like a headlining set, it'll be the song before the acoustic stuff. That's like so intense, and then we make it. But it's always in the middle, and it's
interesting. It's such a good song to close with.
Well, it's cool. We have another song. When you see us, you might see why. We end pretty intensely. It's kind of sick. We don't want them to go home either energized because of the set or super tired because of it.
Right.
So yeah, we put it in the middle of the set there. It's a really great transition because the set usually starts off with the rockers, and this journey of this jam goes through you've heard it. It depends. Well, we switch things up sometimes, but it'll go from a really kind of rock to So What, the Miles Davis tunes in there. You do the Joe Cocker thing or the Beatles, however you want to look at it. It's just a kind of a journey that doesn't let you know what's coming. So we put it in the middle of the set kind of as a, well, there you go. And as an opening, set 2 if we're playing for bands. Well, if you didn't like those ones, we'll show you what we're about, like what we
Yeah.
can do.
Like, yeah, if someone like listens to that and they're like, nah, not that. I mean, you got nothing left, man. I mean, what do
Yeah.
you know, how much
Yeah.
more, you can't give more than that song, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Would you
Sure.
consider putting that as a studio? Like, like you think about something like in memory of Elizabeth Reed.
Well, yeah.
And it wasn't the same as when it's live,
Totally.
but I was wondering how that song would be in a studio.
I don't think in the studio, one, because we quote so many different songs.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, it kind of comes together differently each time we play it live. The thing about Elizabeth Reed is like, it's that song.
Right.
And there you go is we have plans of like substituting certain things in and out. It's kind of like, I guess that's like the Dead fan in me too. Or like you could say the same thing about Zeppelin, but like I love that the Dead, like if you went to the show the night before, you were not going to get the same next night. It's
totally,
and it's just and even if they do play the same tune, which rarely that happen, it's still going to be different. And so I think we like to keep some things live because like it's also incentive and I think attractive to come see our shows because it's like it could be different. We are having people follow us like hundreds of miles now to each show. It's nuts.
Dude, that's so cool. I'm happy to hear that. You deserve it.
Thanks, man. And they'll say the same thing. And it's like, oh, like if they're a guitar nut, they'll be like, I heard you quote this on There You Go that time. I'm like, you got me. Or whatever, that sort of thing. And so I don't know. I mean, we're game for trying anything.
I think track.
Thanks, dude.
Love the track.
That just kind of came about with originally I had that main riff, the down thing that's almost kind of like now that I think about it, like a Ted Nugent thing. I'm not like the biggest like Ted Nugent disciple, but it's kind of like a mid-70s Midwest rock riff. And I was working on making it a song. And then I brought it to the dudes, TJ, Roger, and I, however many years ago, and said, okay, well, this is the tune. Like, let's learn the music and then see what happens from it. And then, like, we would just jam on it. And it's like, well, let's just keep this a jam. And there's a ton of jam bands out there,
definitely.
Goose and all, great jam bands. But again, there's that side of rock, like specifically rock music like us, that doesn't really do it like that anymore.
No, you don't see a lot of tracks like that.
That's not me saying like we're better because of it. It's just me saying like
just
that's another authentic nature of it is like we're gonna do it. Like, and we do it for open. People will comment and say like, "Wow, very pretentious to have a drum solo or a big long jam when you only have 45 minutes to set out." I'm like, we're here to show you who we are.
Do people really say that? I tell you, people's lack of shit to do never ceases to amaze. Because people like they'll leave. Look, I'm grateful someone watches a YouTube video. I really am. And 99% of the comments are like, that makes sense. But sometimes people will leave this like, they need to get a blog and just express themselves on there and like this whole thing. And I'm like, wow, how do you have the time? I mean, like, even it's not even like wrong or right, but more like why?
Yeah,
like, you gotta have something better to do.
Yeah. Luckily, man, especially as of late, I would say 95% of the comments and has been great. Like super positive, and I think the older generation views this as truly authentic, and the younger generation did not live it. So they're starting to fall in love with it for the first time. Like,
which is wonderful.
We are these guys, but like we could be their Led Zeppelin. We could their,
they're free.
Mackie or whoever,
Yeah.
So that's something pretty beautiful in that sense that we've seen. It's pretty much mass acceptance of who's found us so far.
But it's weird when someone says to you, someone's calling you pretentious. You're like out there writing original music, getting this shit done, Like,
Well,
what do
they don't
they do?
check out anything else, though.
Yeah,
Like
but
they.
what it doesn't matter. But what is somebody? Usually, like, someone told me in a business seminar, maybe 30 years ago, even, or 25 years ago, probably, they said something like, the people who criticize are always on the ladder below you. Because the people who are on the ladder, your level or above, they know what it took for you to do that. And they're not going to criticize because they know it's part of your journey and whatever it is. And they're going to give you a helping hand to get up to that next rung. But, you get criticism like, what are you doing? Like, you're like probably living in your
It's one of
mom's
those
basement or something.
I'm not too concerned about it. Like, I've been a hater before. I haven't gone as far as taking my time to comment on it. But,
That's I just don't get that.
yeah, when Greta Van Fleet first came out, I don't listen to them religiously or anything, but I disliked them purely because I was envious. So, like,
Right.
I've been there.
Good
So
for you for recognizing your emotions on that, at least.
I mean, we're all gonna die someday. It is what it is. So, like, if those people want to say it, cool, for two reasons. One, America, I guess you can say whatever you want, even if it's in different
Price you
countries.
pay for freedom. I know.
Yeah, that does not bother me. I'm still gonna do this tomorrow. Second thing is, though, I don't like to feed into it, but it is just the case. People love drama, and the second somebody says, they've done it forever. Even if we're just talking about music, you can't tell me that Sabbath didn't get some,
oh my God,
popularity because the crazy Christian people were saying they're Satanists. It's like, well, for a 13-year-old boy, it's like, yeah, I love horror movies. This sounds awesome.
Let me check that out. Right.
Yeah. So
because you got such intense curiosity behind a lot of these things.
Yeah, I mean, back to Greta Van Fleet, I don't want to talk about them forever, but like, I think their music's good. I think that they have worked very hard to where they're at. Like, I know the story, like a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Just now, I do talking to certain people, and it's like, wow, man, they've really just taken over, which that's a beautiful thing for them. But started when people are like, they're trying to be Zeppelin, they're trying to be Zeppelin. Blah, blah, blah. First off, their music doesn't sound anything like them, especially now. And secondly, it's like, well, you guys are just, you're gonna burn Beatles records. You just bought it, man. You're helping them move on.
Right.
So, anyway, I don't care about bad comments.
Yeah,
I don't want them to be hurtful.
It's weird.
I don't want them to be like purposely like whatever. I can deal with it, but like, if you don't like it, just say you don't like it. Or just shut up too. Whatever.
It's weird.
It's all cool. It's funny, man. It's most specifically with There You Go. There's been a couple people, but this one guy was like, really? You're doing a cover of a cover? And I just like, man, it's just kind of funny. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess he's right, but whatever.
Yeah, but you're doing it. That's the difference. You're on stage doing it. It's easy to comment when you're doing nothing. That's all.
Dwayne and Greg Allman lived in St. Louis for a brief period of time in '66. So I know a lot of people who rubbed shoulders with them. And one of the guys said, there's this band at, I can't remember what club it was, but they were not good. And they was with Greg, and this guy that I know was saying that, he's like, man, this band is just not good, man. I wish you were playing. I wish I was playing. And Dwayne said, you're having fun, man. So it's like, I just keep that in mind.
Yeah, they're doing something. Yeah.
Whatever. And if you're doing nothing, whatever that means, it's all whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
There you go.
Last song I want to talk about is, you were kind enough to give me a sneak peek of this. What of Now? So the first thing that track reminded me of is, and I don't even know if you've ever heard of this, but when I was a kid, I used to go down to the Hayden Planetarium down in the city, and they had this thing there. It was Pink Floyd Laser Rock, and then later on they had Led Zeppelin Laser. So basically, you basically go down there. Like, this is back in the early to mid 70s. Buy a bunch of loose joints from guys hanging out in the park, and then get high and go and just,
watch the show.
be stoned for an hour and a half and just like watch listen to Dark Side of the Moon with lasers and then
Well,
maybe
you
some
see
other
that
music.
thing when you went like that.
Yeah, man. Right. That's exactly right. And, but that song, it starts with like this synth stuff and then it explodes with so much. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I thought it was great. And my comment here was very few guitarists can mix jazz licks into a rock track without it sounding sort of like bougie and pretentious. I mean, but I really thought the stuff you were doing was great. The subtle jazz stuff you put in there, it really rocked. And so tell me about the backstory to that song, which is another great long jam. And will you be releasing that?
Yeah, well, first thing.
You're welcome.
The version I sent you was live.
Yeah, it was. It was phenomenal.
Thanks. So there will be other, for my production mind, there's going to be even more cool, in my opinion, cool stuff on the studio track. Yeah, we'll definitely release it someday.
Good.
I don't, the origins of it, I mean, I don't really like purposely sit down and write most of the time, I guess. Not for feel, at least. It's usually just when I'm messing around. So I think that just came out of a riff, the thing in the beginning.
The synths, though, that was like, after listening to the EP, I'm like, where did that come from? That was really, I wasn't expecting that.
That's cool to hear. I mean, like, what I'm looking forward to is releasing more music so they can hear my origins mixed with TJ, Roger, and Garrett's origins. Like,
sure.
I want this band to be a culmination of pretty much everything I'm into. For the most part, I love synth. I love, I have a mini Moog. I've got, it's not a synth, but Rhodes and Whirlies and stuff like that. String ensemble, just the cool old stuff, like nerdy stuff. And I don't know, I love that stuff. I love early Genesis.
Right.
Like, love early Genesis, the weird stuff.
Yeah.
And I love Yes and King Crimson and I don't know. I just like it. I'm not just a guitarist, so I don't know. I kind of put it together, and it'll sound a little bit different on the record than what I sent you, but same idea.
Sounded great, man.
Thanks.
Really cool. I really enjoyed that
cool
track.
Too, when we do it live, that's just like I don't bring that stuff out. So that is a track that's played over front of house. So you don't know what's going on, and then all of a sudden, people will know when they hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how
even the title is cool. What of Now?
Well, yeah, Garrett the singer came up with that, and we're still figuring a few things out with melodies and lyrics and stuff, but we were like, well, yeah, that sounds cool, man. Like, right on. Just like Midnight Rush, it's like, well, let's do it. Sounds good. But as far as like the arrangement and stuff, that's very much from my love of prog. There's not really any like odd time signatures, but
no,
it's the arrangements themselves. You've heard it. It goes through, has a guitar only instrumental. It has 12-string parts and kind of a Liz Reed kind of jam sort of thing, and then it all comes back together. It's just
But that's not easy to do. I mean, you really got to be on top of your arranging to make it come back together like that deliberately. It's because you can get lost in the weeds pretty easily when you're going off like that. And that's what I liked about the track. You did a good job tying everything together, and it wasn't like you had awkward things buffering up against each other. It was very well done. And for a long track like that, again, that's not pat yourself on the back, man, for that compositionally. That's really good. Yeah.
I call it our pretentious song.
No, it's great, man.
I'm glad you dig it. I think a lot of people will. And again, it's not something that active rock bands have done for a really long time. And from the other standpoint too, like a lot of the 70s groups didn't do it exactly like that, but I'm looking forward to combining the straight ahead rock to kind of the weirder proggy stuff. I think people are gonna like it just because it's us, and seems to be people are digging it, and I have fun with it. It's just a fun thing, and it's just such a joy to hear people like you and others say like, "Man, that's a cool track," and like young people think it too. I'm like, "Great, man," because like I love this. Like it's a good feeling, man. I don't know what else to say.
Well deserved. You know what? You just reminded me. So I'm going to send it to my son. My older son would love that for sure. Thank you. Any plans for you guys to release another, like a studio album soon, or?
Well, we'd love to, and there are plans for all of that. Just where we're at with the band right now, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff happening with, as far as business goes. So great stuff, like really, really exciting stuff. But it's not in our best interest right now to release something so substantial while things are still growing. It will happen, but as of right now, just from a logistics standpoint and business, like it's we don't want to release something so substantial right now that our current fan base will hear. We want our current fan base plus
a new fan,
everybody, because an album, people say in this new world of ADHD, it's like we've always had ADHD, we just have phones now. So like it's just so much new information. If you release an album, it's going to be listened to probably the same amount of times, if not less, than an EP or single.
I would agree with that.
So it just, I hate to say it this way, it just doesn't make sense. But
no, you want to do the work for a reason.
Yeah, man. And I'm an album guy. I have an extensive vinyl collection. I think I told you, I'm an organized hoarder with the things I collect. I'm very
like that.
Certain pressings and all this just because it's fun. And so yeah, I'm an album guy, and I'm looking forward to releasing that and releasing vinyl and having little Easter eggs on each of them and stuff like that from a collectability standpoint. And
that's so funny.
Yeah, to answer your question, we're into it for sure.
Good.
And I think that with the way that we come off, authentic nature, and in the kind of songs we do and the fan base we're growing, I think when we release an album, I think it's going to be a awesome new thing for the folks that are new to this kind of music.
Sure.
But for an older generation, it's going to be an awesome,
yeah.
Not to just talk highly of ourselves, but I know if we do that, we're going to do it right. Just because we're just not following a ton of the rules at the moment.
Dude, you guys are a really good band.
Folks, it's what folks are wanting right now, and it's what I would want. So I would listen to us. I do.
That's a good song.
I feel good about that. It's one of those things I should mention that anything that I have output with, anything I create, it's just an extension of experiences I've had, or it's not coming from me. I'm on the shoulders of giants, so to speak, and spiritually and metaphorically. And so when I talk highly, saying I'd listen to my band, I don't feel as weird saying it because I made it. It's man, I'm a fan of the people making this music, and
yeah,
it's a big community.
Hold on a second. I'm going to move this little Hazel here. She's going to tear my spot up. Come here, baby. Sorry, man. I knew that would come when she wakes up.
Oh, all right.
I want to. You mentioned something. You've mentioned spirituality a few times. To whatever extent you're comfortable, where are you at with spirituality in your life, or how did you become a spiritual person, or what does that mean to you? Again, to whatever extent you're comfortable.
Well, yeah, it makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and it's unfortunate because humans have ruined humans. So
and pretty much everything else, the world, the earth, yeah.
Yeah, so I follow the
animals.
Oh my gosh, yeah, literally everything. But I follow the teachings of Christ, and I grew up going to Christian church and walking away from it and having to create my own foundation and coming back to that. It's when I say my vehicle, what I'm here to express, it's really that. In my opinion, no matter what you believe, what's next is the most important thing. that exists. Not that this is a waiting period or anything like that. You know, we're here for a reason. But if I think to myself, if I think baseball or music is the number one thing in my life, that just doesn't make sense to me. It's the number one thing I should be talking about, and if it's through music, it's through music. If it's through a podcast, it's through a podcast. Is spiritually what I've come to know is true, and what's happening next. It's a hard thing to explain. It's a hard thing to put into words without making it seem like I just don't care about anything, because I do, but I care so much about what's next that everything else takes a back seat.
So what changes did you make in your own thought processes as you went from, let's call it for lack of better terminology, a lapsed Christian? Is that okay to say that?
Sure. I don't know if you can call it whatever you want.
I don't know, like, but you said you moved away from, what's that?
Yeah. I was not into it at one point.
So what changes or adjustments or how did you reframe how you looked at things so that when you came back to spirituality and Christianity, which are two different things, in my opinion anyway, what changes did you make so that you could find a place of like, yeah, my happy spot in those things? Well, and again, that's a heavy question, man. If you don't, just to whatever extent you're comfortable answering it.
I'll talk about it. And if you want to keep it in there, you can. If you don't, whatever is fine with me.
Okay. No, I'll definitely. It's interesting. I find this very interesting.
It's the most important thing. It's quite literally the only thing that matters. And family goes into that, all of that kind of stuff. Human life. Sure. So anyhow, I don't know if you can get away from spirituality. If you can, when I say I was not into Christianity, I was in high school and early college, and I just, I didn't like Christians. And I used that as an excuse. It needed to happen, but I used that as an excuse to not be involved. I'm not of the belief that you need to go to church, to be a Christian, any of that BS, but church is great. So what? Yeah. So I was just, if I were to call myself a Christian at that point, I would have felt like guilty and shameful. All of that to say, everything I just stated was because of humans. I cannot think of a situation, and I've talked to people about this extensively, that somebody is has been against the idea, at the very least, the idea of God because of God. It's generally because a human messed it up. It's because something was taken out of context. Biblically, something was, and when I say out of context, I mean like, if you have for example, my dad had a friend that sister was born with special needs and just like not, very, very not great situation. And the church told him, or told his parents, is because of their family's past sins that his sister had special needs. That's what I mean by taking things out of context. It's like, wow. Man.
Like it's their fault.
Yeah, exactly.
So now they got to, imagine having to carry that around.
Yes. And, you can bring up anything. Why is this thing like this? Why did this catastrophe happen? I can't answer everything, hardly anything. But when I realized that I did not like what people were using God for, rather than me not liking God, that's what kind of opened my eyes to, okay, I've never been really against it. I've been against its followers. It's like,
I understand that.
My friend's wife says she liked the Grateful Dead a lot more if they didn't have deadheads.
Dude, I know that, man. That's true. Oh my God, yeah.
But I'm not against deadheads. We have a lot of deadhead followers, so like, yeah. But Anyhow,
No, but I know what she. I'm not against him either, but I get what she's saying because
oh yeah,
there's
I
a
do.
whole.
Some of them are messed up.
There's a whole culture. It's just different, and if you're not into that, it's just I get that. I don't have anything against that, but I understand her comment.
Yeah. So
Okay, so
yeah,
you came back in part 2, understanding or with the mindset of, okay, what I was uncomfortable with. You had a better perspective on what made you uncomfortable, and it wasn't God or whatever the higher power or Jesus or whatever. Or I'm just trying to blanket this for everybody for wherever your higher power is. You came back with the realization that it was people's maladaption of what that is, or something like that, and so you framed your own.
yeah. And the fact, shame and guilt are huge words
Mm-hmm.
in anything, but specifically with Christianity is that, the fact that I felt shameful that I was considering myself a Christian, but I really wasn't acting it out is not something that Christ taught. It's again, it's a Christian, it's
Human thing.
a follower thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think what's beautiful about the teachings of Christ too is that it's for everyone. It's not for us. Even in the times of Christ, the existence of Christ cannot be, that's been proven at this point. It's obviously if the dude rose again, which is kind of the, the big thing that can be debated. In that time, Jesus was kind of a rebel. He's like, no. This is not the way we should be doing things. This God that you're worshiping, our God, is not just for the Jews.
Right.
If he's the creator of all, he created all of this, right? So just going in that, and that's just the surface level. But really, when my dad passed, my dad, again, whether you're a Christian or not, the example of Christ is amazing. Christ was the original peace and love, the original hippie, right?
Right.
So
right.
it did talk about some sin and things, but really, the greatest rule of them all, what is it? Love God, but love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah. Right.
Sounds pretty awesome to me. So my dad, as close, through like therapy and things like that, I describe my dad as God. He was my God here. I could rely on him for anything. He knew all the answers, all of this. So when he passed away, my foundation was absolutely destroyed. So it was almost like I was on a psychedelic experience for a while. Like just being like having no idea what's going on. I recognize things, but just purpose was not a thing. Like whether it was for myself or just the normal things of life. It's like, well, what purpose is this? So it just took more experience, and it took community and just personal exploration, I guess you could call it, to realize that I had never really gone away. I just it might have looked different for me than it did other people. And I had been back into practicing as a Christian. I hate to say practicing, like, because it's not really that. It's just like, it's just what you do. It's like, it's my opinion.
You practice guitar, right? I get what you're saying.
Exactly,
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
To me, the teaching.
That's the word. I get. Yeah, it's just the word that's used. Yeah.
So it's really not that different from just the natural things of life. Treating people well, sacrifice is the biggest thing, that somebody could sacrifice so much for me. I am less than. So I never really went away from that. But then when my dad passed, it forced. I don't think I was a normal case of finding God during grief, but I was forced to find out why I believed what I believed.
Sure.
And a lot of it had to do with fact and searching, because I'm kind of like a, why is 2 + 2 4? why?
Yeah, you like to intellect. You're you're a bright guy, so you're curious, and so you intellectualize things. I
I think
totally get that.
I've tried to prove it wrong, and
Yeah.
that's what I was doing. I was trying to prove it wrong, and I haven't been able to. So I think that's where I'm at.
Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing that. Just a couple of comments. I really very nice to hear how you looked at your dad, and I hope my kids, whenever my time is, and I certainly hope it's not anytime soon, I hope they have that same sort of reverence for what I was able to give them. And
Sure.
I hope so. And also, it's not uncommon. I've talked to a lot of people, with almost 1,000 guests, and I'm interested in spirituality and to a lesser extent religion, and a lot of people grew up in the church where the sort of brimstone and fire stuff made their lives pretty miserable. And they either left.
Church trauma.
Yeah. And they either left totally and have no spirituality anymore, or they left and then did what you did, came back and said, you know what? I want to have a God that this is my relationship and this is what we do. And I'm, and they just worked out their own relationship with whatever higher power they have, so I think that's not an uncommon journey that you went on.
Well, another reason why I viewed my dad as God, not literally, I wasn't on my knees worshiping.
No, I get what you're saying. He was everything to you, he was there.
Totally. When I started to get deeper, not even deeper, just being me again. When I was trying to prove all this wrong at a deeper extent, we're humans. We even, nobody on earth can tell me that this guitar pick exists, because who knows? Maybe I did smoke too much weed back in the day, but
I think that exists. Sorry, man.
I know, but I know it does, but it's like there's a part of you that's like, it's like, we don't know what any of this is. So I could ask anything. I always said the most powerful question on earth is why.
Yeah, that's true.
Because eventually you're going to get to the point no one can explain it to you. So that and faith does not go together very well. I'll tell you that. But
yes, you're 100% correct. Yeah, because that faith you can't intellectualize that. That's why it's called faith.
Even the most faithful person is only 99.9%. It just is what it is. But that's okay, and that's what goes into what I'm about to say. I knew I could go to anything with my dad. I told him things I had never told anybody else.
Sure.
Things I was super embarrassed about, things that I knew that maybe that I knew if he found out about, he would be mad. But since the fact that I brought it to him, and it was just
you always want to hear about it from the kid, not from an outside source. That's what I've always told my kids, you're especially now they're older, they're not kids anymore. Whatever you want to tell me is fine. There's no judgment. And,
this is how I view God. There was one time in a previous relationship that I am now that is pretty intense. Just something bad, really bad had happened. Not even really anything with our relationship itself, but just it was not good. And I didn't know what to do. And my dad was working in the garage. And I just went to him and I stuck my head in his chest. And he hugged me and I was hugging him. And then I just started bawling. And he didn't ask a single question why. He didn't whatever. He gave me the time. And eventually, when I was done, I told him what had happened. But now when I viewed my dad as God, that's how I view God, is not what I had necessarily been taught by some people in the church that do this and you go to hell. It's here I am, man. I've got you wrapped up.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's less of I hate to say that God is not my God or God in general, but God is not God to me. God is my friend.
Healthy, loving parent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
that's how I try to look at it.
And I do think that there are some quote unquote requirements for certain things, but I think that they're all related to the natural flow of what this is. It's sacrifice. That I am less than, and that's beautiful. It's the same thing I was talking about earlier. Like, if I have to be on the stage of 1,000 people to get my point across, and I should probably think about something else.
Right. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you sharing that. How'd you get good on guitar? Like, did you take lessons? Because you're a very talented player, and you seem like you have your hands on, like, from a theory standpoint, but from an application standpoint of many different genres. How'd you sort of get there?
Well, yeah, thanks again. Theory, I mean, I understand some of it, apply some of it. I need to learn more, but I'm self-taught. I will say that, being in band in middle school and stuff, I was percussion, and learning the general, way things worked was nice, but I haven't taken any formal lessons except when I said I was 4 or 5. I took like 2 lessons, and I quit because I kept looking down at my fingers to press like a C, like first fret of the B. He's like, no, don't look. You can't look. I'm like, even then, I'm like, I'm 5, man.
Like, how are you gonna?
Yes.
Yeah, that's like saying when you're at bat, don't look at the pitcher.
Yeah, totally. It was super weird. So I just like,
it's very weird. Yeah, this is
anyway. Yeah. So I never took lessons. I mean, YouTube was a great thing, but I will say the downfall, or what's not good about videos, is videos do not teach you anything except where to put certain.
Yeah, there's a lot of subtleties, like with tone and stuff like that, or even how to control your amp and get the sound you want, that I'm learning through with my guitar teacher. That, I mean, I'm sure this is on YouTube, but man, how much time do you have to scour for everything, and then you're listening to, whereas you got a guy right there, and I want to do this, and goes, oh, just, turn your master volume down, turn your guitar up to 7. I'm like, oh, okay, that was easy enough.
Yeah, and no, I definitely use that, and I still use it, not really like for learning songs and stuff, but like, there is great information out there. Like, I always say I know more about the Beatles' lives than they know about themselves.
That's so funny. Like, from YouTube.
I love information. I love reading stuff. So, I spent a ton of time playing, and I also spent a ton of time getting out of bad habits with guitar, because I did teach myself. Like I said, I was an Eddie Van Halen, disciple. And Eddie Van Halen is one of the most tasteful, what I would call shredders. But he wasn't playing country licks. He wasn't playing, R&B, maybe some influence. But I just eventually, when I got into the Beatles, expanded, and I would listen to everything. Because I said I hated the Beatles just because everyone loved them. Even people who don't like music had an Abbey Road shirt on. I'm like, man, that's so blah, blah, blah. But once I got into them, I was like, I'm probably wrong about a lot. So I just expanded, and I learned a ton of songs. I learned, I probably don't remember a lot of them now, but I had to have known 500 songs note for note.
That's
just
awesome.
Like learning, because, monkey see, monkey do, that sort of thing. And I do think that I have developed my own feel, like unique to myself, but only because of everything I've combined, because I learned many songs. But I guess that's what you would say, how I became good, but I expanded my mind musically. And that's what I tell people all the time. It's like, if you're going to get into this, learn everything, man, because you can learn stuff from things you don't like.
Absolutely.
You can't tell me that, who's a country guy? I think
Brent Mason.
Yeah, I was going to say Brent. Country is the most country in the 90s because it was so exaggerated a lot of the times. And that's when the really fiery licks started coming out. And there's great players before them. Like, I love all that stuff too. Someone like Brent Mason, I would have heard him when I was 13 being like, country, blah, blah, blah. You can't tell me that guy's not amazing.
No, he is. And I had him on the show. He's a very nice guy,
that's
too.
Great.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's how I got good. I don't know what to call myself, but I do know that I excel at the guitar in some fashion. That's how I got to it. I've just spent a lot of time doing it, man. Like it's like it's like a relationship too. You're only gonna it's only gonna be good if you spend time with it.
Totally, absolutely, 100%. Yes,
And not just
100%.
doing the same things, because like I have friends that I grew up with that like they just wouldn't even like practice. They keep a guitar in their car, like in their house. It's just like I I don't know. I have fun with it too. I mean, it's sometimes a chore,
Oh, you should have fun with his music, man.
but I don't. It's not like I'm always in feel mode. That sounds wrong, but like the band feel mode.
Yeah.
But I'm always listening to other stuff and doing stuff for myself, and it's not like when I sit down, I'm like playing a feel riff or like playing, I don't know, a Deep Purple riff. Maybe sometimes, but like I'm just sitting there playing and like Curtis Mayfield stuff, a lot of R&B, and I don't know. I'm just constantly going. I don't think I'm very good at practicing, but I think I've just played so much that I eventually made something that made sense.
It's funny you just mentioned Curtis Mayfield. I'm working on People Get Ready. That track.
Oh man, Curtis is.
He's one of my favorite R&B guitar. Yeah, he's phenomenal. What a great songwriter! My God.
Move On Up is one of my
great track.
I mean, the long version, I think it's 12 minutes or so long, at least 10 minutes. It's literally just how's it go? Oh crap! It's 16th notes, literally for 12 minutes long.
That's what a lot of these R&B guys. It's not easy music to play by a long shot because it's the same thing. You're playing rhythm guitar. You got to do pretty much the same thing for a long time. It's not easy.
Yeah, and there's still feeling in it. It's not just like robotic. It's certain accents and like it's.
So now I got to learn that track. Move On Up. Thank you.
I mean, it's 4 chords the whole time, and that's another great track too for inversions. That's what I do with it because you could do it down here. I just messed it up, but you can just go all over the board all day long with it, and it's really good. It's kind of like a one of those things.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about guitars right now. What's your go-to guitar right now? What other 2 would round out your top 3? I never saw you playing a Tele either. That's interesting that you.
This is I can talk about cool guitars. I don't know if I ever got to. This is a guardless blackguard. It's a 53 Tele.
It is.
Wow. Yeah, I got it from a guy who in Chicago that either him or the guy he got it from shortly before he got it found in a trash can. In like
why I always wonder why doesn't shit like that happen to me. I've heard stories of guys like stumbling across like a $5,000 guitar in their like they moved into this new house and they were up in the attic one day and this dusty thing and it's like like a an old vintage SG or something like that.
I've had
old vintage Strat.
To me,
you've had stuff like that.
Oh my, yeah, I'm a unique case or a rare case when it comes to that. But as far as the guitar, do you want me to get them?
If you want to, totally up to you, man.
I mean, I can do some. I don't have like go-tos.
Bring your number one.
So I don't have like a go-to per se, but I would say like if I had to like pick one specifically for what we do in feel, it would be this. It's a
custom
69 custom. So no volute.
Wow, when did you get that?
I got this guitar in the summer of 69. The summer of I think it was 2019. So it's got a. Do you want me to talk about like the story with it and stuff, or?
Yeah.
So, a guy told me that he had one And I was like, oh man, that's super cool. Like, I didn't really have any vintage stuff at the time. By the time he told me, well, not a bunch of guitars at least. I had some, but not really. Anything I kept. So anyhow, it ended up it was not his. It was somebody he knew, but he had it, but they were selling it, and I was like, well, how much, man? It's like I don't got any money, and he told me the price. I was like, frick, I could get that somehow. It was just an insanely good price. I went over and played it. I was like, wow, and I did like payments on it for a while, and
Oh, cool.
got it. But this is a crazy story. So the back is stripped. That's not like factory or anything. Someone did it. Somebody played the crap out of this guitar. Like, I mean, it's played.
What?
So anyhow,
Is that must be super heavy?
Not really. It's pretty light for a custom. I would say. I think it's like 9.4 pounds. It's not over 10. I mean, so some people that's very heavy.
What year was that guitar issued in, though?
So this is technically a reissue.
Yeah,
because they stopped making them, and the last customs you see originally are 61, really early 61, before you see the SG shape. We call those era of SGs that are known as they're Les Pauls. We call them Les Gs. So a 68, actually the first Les Pauls popped out of the factory. Really, really weird time in 67, but 68. So you hear about the 68, 69 customs, and
so that's not a reissue. That guitar dates to 69.
Yeah, this is a 69.
Oh wow!
But they're technically a reissue because they'd stopped making them.
Yeah, but I thought that would be heavy. That's interesting that they're less than 10 pounds.
Well, not all of them are, man.
Yeah, because I talked to guys that have like early 70s and mid 70s, and they're like, I had to stop playing it. It's like a boat anchor.
This is a 7D, and this is probably 3 pounds, 2.5, 3 pounds heavier than this.
And does it got P90s on there? I can't really see the pickups.
No, the covers are just off.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, it's not all original, but it does have that. That was
you've got you really have the whole Gibson tone dialed down. Really, I mean, I'm more of a humbucker guy in the Strat. I have a Strat, but I prefer.
I've got fenders and stuff too. But yeah, for this. But anyhow, long story short, so it's got the back strip. I was watching a YouTube video one time of this local, at the they were local back in the day in St. Louis. I'm just a history freak, and wherever I'm at, my girlfriend, she's from Richmond, Virginia, so I find out everything I can about Richmond. St. Louis, I find everything about, and I just love music history with that stuff. And so there's a band called Jake Jones, and they were kind of like the they're legends at this point in St. Louis. Quite a few of them were passed, but anyhow, there's a guy named Chuck Sabatino. He became Michael McDonald's writing partner because Michael McDonald's from St. Louis.
Oh, I did not know that. I figured he was an LA guy. Interesting.
Yeah, he moved out there, I don't know, early 70s. So he was in a band here called The Guild. And they were like massive at the time. So anyhow, Chuck Sabatino was a legend, all these dudes. But Joey Marshall was the guitarist. And Joey had been in a band called Truth and Acid Set in the late 60s. And there was an area of town called the Gaslight Square, and they had all the clubs and stuff, and that's where like Albert King cut his teeth, Ike and Tina, Little like all these bands. So the Almond Joys, Greg and Dwayne's band, spent time there, and Joey got to know him. I did not know Joey because he passed, but when Dwayne died, Dwayne's common-law wife Donna got one of his guitars down in Macon, and it was the Fillmore Burst, and she gave it to Joey. So that guitar is in St. Louis.
Gave it to him.
Yep. He gave it, before Joey passed, he gave it back to Dwayne's daughter. Anyhow, so I'm watching this video, and I pause it to get the phone or something like that, and I go back, and, I mean, Joey was playing a Les Paul Custom, but in this video, Jake Jones, but just right where I turned it, it had a strip back, and I was like, that's pretty weird. And
wow.
Because it's not like these guitars are rare, but it's not like you see a ton of them. And it just had some things. So I started thinking, and I knew people that played with Joey back in the day and all that. So can't prove it, but basically what we gather is that when Dwayne passed, this video was in 72, Joey got the guitar from Donna in maybe 72, probably early 73. People I know who were playing with Joey at that time, he did not have this guitar anymore. Well, I just kind of gave it away. But he didn't have the Les Paul Custom anymore. So Joey sold it, or stolen. I like to say sold. But it turns up that we're 99.9% sure that this is Joey's guitar.
Oh, that's so cool that you have the history of it.
Yeah, and I kind of look like him, and I, apparently play a lot like him, and he's a very cool guy, I guess, and wish I could have met him. But what's even cooler, if it could get cooler, is that the brothers, when Dwayne was in the band, did not play in St. Louis. They played one time in the area in a town called Winsville. But they were, after the Almond Joys, they were in a band called the Hourglass, and they played in St. Louis stuff. But they would stay with Joey and hang out with them and jam and stuff. Well, it just makes me think, like, man, if Joey had this guitar when Dwayne was alive and he came through town, I have no reason to think that Dwayne did not play this guitar.
Right, Dwayne did not play. Right. That's pretty cool history, man.
So who knows? But like, it is what it is, and it would be hard to think that it's not the guitar. But I love it. I've played a metric crap ton of 68, 69, Les Paul Customs, plenty of 70s, geez Louise. I've played probably about 40 or so bursts. And this guitar destroys any of the other 68, 69s I've played. It's just something very specific. Because I don't really keep guitars I don't like unless they're crazy. Like,
right. No, I don't either.
But there's something about the neck that's different. It sounds different. The way it sits on me is different. It responds differently. I mean, it's been played a lot, so that's probably it too. But this thing holds up to most of the bursts that I've played. There's been a couple bursts that I'm like, wow, this is God's guitar. But I mean, this is definitely probably in the top 5 Les Pauls I've ever played, and it just happens to be mine.
What kind of pickups are those? What were they issuing back then? Just original, yeah.
Bucklers, but they're T-tops.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool, man.
Yeah. So
that's a good story. There.
Another, probably my favorite acoustic that I own is now this is a rare guitar, and most people probably haven't heard about it. But it's what tuning's it in? So this is a Stahl Model 6.
Stahl, S-T-A-L-L?
S-T-A-H-L. And that was a music store. Sounds really
Dude,
good.
your fingers are massive. You're like reaching like way more frets than I could ever even
My hands
imagine.
Are actually, pretty small. Let me show you what's weird though. This is proof of evolution. So I always showed people this when I would teach back in the day for a very brief short period of time, or when they say, man, you got huge hands, I'm like, not really. So I don't know how I'll be able to, I can do it like this. So this is how far, I play acoustic so much that my thumb is all messed up. So this is how far I can stretch this hand.
Right.
I'll just like that. Whatever. Because I've been playing so long and how much I've played, I can stretch this one substantially further. So this is how far I can do this one.
Oh, wow.
And that's like...
That's pretty dramatic.
And even if I can't straighten it out. This thumb's messed up too because I hold the guitar, but like... That's
like...
That's an inch.
Almost... Yeah, an inch and a half, I was going to say at least. Yeah. That's pretty...
Like, I usually go...
Wow.
Like show.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I don't really have big hands, but this is evolution. So,
but you just... Yeah. That's awesome.
But anyhow, so Stahl was a music store in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I don't know if they might have had a catalog too, but this guitar was made by the Larson brothers in Chicago. So they were these two brothers that came to America around 1900, and they were building guitars. They branched out on their own, and they were like, well, we can be Larson Brothers Guitars and try to compete with Gibson and Martin, or we can build guitars for stores and one-offs and stuff, catalog, and still make a little money. but not have to worry about it. So no, as far as I know, no Larson Brothers guitars said Larson Brothers. There's about 3,500 instruments they made. Most of them are big back mandolins, harp guitars, like big stuff. Turn of the century kind of stuff, you know. They made, I don't know, 500 guitars. Most of them are parlor size. But this might be one of, I don't know, not very many, because they didn't make a lot of bigger sizes or a ton of them. But what they are known for was they were one of the first brands to expand on them. Because this is a big size. This is from 1935. This guitar is...
Oh, my God. So that's almost 100 years. That's 90, going on 89 years old now.
I like old women.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Where did you find that?
Facebook Marketplace in St. Joseph, Missouri, in the middle of nowhere.
STAHL.
Yep, this is Stahl. But if you look up Larson Brothers, that's where. But anyhow, yeah, man, like this is LARSON
or SEN?
ON, and their biggest claim to fame, you know, they're known as Martin killers and stuff. But Gibson and Martin took a lot of. This looks like an ON 28.
Beautiful guitar.
Yeah, it's great. I don't know if it translates, but it sounds amazing.
I just can't believe it's almost 100 years old. That's pretty...
Its integrity is there. Their biggest claim to fame, Larson, is that they were the first brand to patent bracing that supported steel strings. So if you think about it, steel string, you know, guitar, it's pretty much modern music.
Yes.
You've got keyboard, you got piano and guitar. Those are pretty much the two things for pop music. So they
were the first ones to manufacture to made acoustic guitar bracing that supports steel strings.
At least patented. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Because at this time, people were doing all sorts of experiments with certain truss rods and all sort of stuff. But yeah, before then, not really. So it's a super special guitar.
That's nice, man.
To the right person, they're worth a lot of money, but you know, they're niche, so it doesn't really matter, but it's not going anywhere anyway. It's a beautiful sounding guitar, and it's crazy. It spent most of its life next to a heater. But surprisingly only had back cracks and needed a neck reset like they all do. But it came from the original owner's family in St. Joseph, Missouri. Oddly enough, William H. Stahl, the guy with the store in Milwaukee, was from St. Joseph. So either he had still sold from a store down there, or I don't know. I don't know if it just came from his family or what. But it's just a random person. Facebook Marketplace.
You ever watch Roadshow Antiques? I think it's called.
Yeah.
Dude, you remind me of that guy because you have this history down. I'm like, because I don't watch that a lot, but once in a blue moon, I'll say, any if it's something like I'm not really interested in, like a dish or, you know, a plate, like just to hear the history of it, it's like really interesting. It all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, that's kind of that's why I wrote down, like, I'm not even into I don't play acoustic guitar, but I'm like, you know what? Hearing that history, I got to look these guitars up, and who knows what I would find maybe locally or something like that. That's pretty cool.
People who know acoustics, I mean, that's specifically that style is like, yeah, it's cool. It's what you want, man. It's cool. I'm super blessed. It was just a freak thing. Like, I'm known as a bloodhound for guitars. They sometimes just pop up. I mean,
yeah, but that's not a freak thing. If you're a bloodhound for guitars, then that's why shit happens to you. You know, it's not like random. Like, it wouldn't happen to me because I'm not, you know, bird dog and things like that. You know.
Sure. Yeah, it started out small, and then now it's referral.
Give me your top 3 Desert Island discs, Tyler. Just for this moment. I mean, because that changes.
Yeah, you're asking some impossible questions. Off the top of my head, I'll say Beatles Revolver.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say Bill Withers Live at Carnegie Hall.
That's a great record.
Oh, I love that. It's just like,
I love Grandma Says. Was it Grandma Says? Isn't it? Grandma's Hands. Yeah, he does a great. Yeah, right.
Church. And, yeah, that's great.
It's really good on that record.
Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, Curtis Mayfield's first record. That's a lot of stuff I'm listening to right now. I'm listening to a lot of Chopin as well, Chopin. I don't know. Those are some right there that I'm
Cool.
listening to right now.
Tell me, strangest or most unexpected thing that's ever happened.
This is another strange thing that happened to me. So, with our old singer, like I said, we did some cool gigs, like very cool gigs. And one of the times we opened up for Cheap Trick, and I was fortunate enough that they asked me to sit in. I did.
Oh wow!
I played Surrender with them. So being from Illinois, I mean, like this is
that's where they're from, aren't they? Isn't it?
Yeah, Rockford.
Yeah, Rockford.
So I'm like, wow. In fact, Rick had said he was pointing at his guitar during "I Want You to Want Me," and I went, and my girlfriend and bandmates were there, and they're like, "What are you doing, man? This is like," I'm like, "Oh crap!" So I went and stood side stage, and he looked at me. He's like, "Okay, the dude's thinking straight now." So I got Robin's Rickenbacker, 1959 Rickenbacker, that he played on Budokan. It was actually owned by Johnny Ramone. And,
wow.
So I'm playing Surrender and stuff. It was surreal, but it was also natural feeling. It was so great. And I'm like, wow. Like, I learned the song when I was 13, man. This is great. And so anyhow, I'm just sitting there, and this is after my dad had passed. Probably a year and a half after. So I'll always be going through grief with it, but it was much more intense then. It's deeper now, but it was just an intense experience back then. And while I'm playing, I felt so serene and just like relaxed, and like I probably had insane amounts of dopamine going through my body is what it was. But like I just felt so good. And man, if I looked out, and my mom was in the front row, they let her in the photo pit, which is nice. And my uncle.
That's really nice.
So I saw them. I'm like, yeah, that's my mom, uncle. That's cool, man. But if I looked out, and I swear to you, if I did not see my dad standing right there in the middle,
really,
just smile. And my first thought was like, we did it, man.
That's nice.
Like, his dream, he grew up really poor, so his dream was always have a guitar, but he never could afford it, or they needed money for other things. Just like the oil crisis era, right? So like no money. My grandpa was a postmaster, crazy stuff going on. So no money. He always wanted to be in Boston or Kansas or Sticks, and Cheap Trick was probably one of them too. And yeah,
that's cool.
It was cool, man. And it's like I know he wasn't literally there physically, but just like the fact that I visually saw it, it's like, all right, man. It's like I'm doing it. My dad always viewed our relationship as, not that he was a king, but King David and Solomon. Biblically, David wanted so much, but in the story, God's like, no, this is not for you. And everything he wanted, became Solomon's temple and things like that. But David laid the groundwork, and that's what David needed in the end of the day. So, my dad, people ask, like I said, his death anniversary was yesterday, 3 years, and like your dad's watching, your dad's seeing. It's like that's all great, but my dad saw my future the day I was born, maybe before.
Wow,
and set me up in that way. So it was cool, man. It still makes me smile.
Yeah, that's a great story, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any? What are your hobbies outside of music?
Well,
besides history.
Yeah, history. And I'm not super specific, like I'll learn about any history, but American Civil War era is a big one for me, as it was my dad. So Abe Lincoln stuff too. So my family, like I say my family in the 1800s knew Lincoln.
Yeah, you had said that. That's interesting.
Yeah, like early on provided him law books. There's letters in the family from Lincoln when he was at the White House. They would have met him at this place called New Salem. It was outside of Petersburg, Illinois. It was like a hub, and he had a general store there. And he I've heard differing stories on this, but might have borrowed some money from my family to start certain things. And he defended one of I think it was my sixth great grandfather. His name was Duff Armstrong, in a very famous trial called the Moon the almanac trial.
That's wild.
Long story short, this dude gets accused of killing somebody, and the witness says he saw him kill him because it was a full moon that night. Lincoln comes to court, proves him wrong by using a farmer's almanac, saying it wasn't a full moon that night. There's no way you could have seen him. Well, the guy that was accused of killing somebody just happened to be my grandpa, like my 6th grade grandpa.
That's wild.
So they were very tight. Yeah. Anyway. So yes, history. But I'm a very, very, very big Illinois Fighting Illini basketball fan.
The Fighting Illini, okay.
Yeah, I watch, last year I would have watched 40 games. I'm very into it. Yeah, I'm into it. That started when 2003 during the Bill Self era. But yeah, it's kind of like being a Cubs fan. It's ups and downs.
Not that rewarding.
It is as of late. Past 5 years or so have been great. But yeah, I have friends that are specifically don't know anything about music, whatever. We're just Illini fans together.
That's cool. It's like a separate life. I think it's important you have a separate life.
Totally. And it's something I truly love, and not that I need to escape music, but I don't need to be around the dudes all the time. I don't need to do that. And, it keeps it fresh. It keeps your relationships good, because it's just like, maybe besides like kind of like you and your wife, like, there's still annoyances. There's still like, all right, I need my time, and
yeah.
So, yeah, I just love Illinois basketball anyway, but it's great, different part of my life. It's something that my mom and I relate to as well.
That's nice.
We don't have a ton in common, but obviously I would do anything, defend her till the dying breath. But
are you an only child?
I have an older sister, and she lives in South Carolina.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, she's not into Illinois basketball at all. But and my dad wasn't either. So I mean, he kind of watched the games, but he'd skip out during half of it.
Right.
So my mom and I love it. My goal one day is to have courtside season tickets to Illinois basketball. That's
even if you could take her to a game courtside would be nice.
Yeah, well, we've done it.
Cool. Oh, you have? Cool.
Year for my birthday, and it was.
That's nice.
Oh, dude, it's. I wear the same Illinois sweater for every game. I don't wash it during the season.
I know a lot of guys who do that. It's so funny.
Yeah, I always say like Michael Scott from The Office. I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. But anyway, so Illinois basketball, I love. I just collect things too, like vinyl, but unrelated to music. I love to fish. Fishing isn't
freshwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really nice, relaxing thing.
We don't have a lot of option besides.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. Yeah, no, ocean in Illinois. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just like to go out by myself. I'll go out with friends too, but I really.
Oh, it's so relaxing, man. Catching bass and shit like that. It's so much. Yeah. I like fishing too. It's very relaxing.
And I'm sort of. I know I sound like an old man, at this point, but I've started to get into golf as an escape too.
Mm-hmm.
I suck. I love going with people who also suck. My really good friend just bought a golf course. So it also
bought a golf course.
Yeah, he's the coolest. He's the coolest guy of all time. He doesn't have an egotistical bone in his body. He'll leave it for his daughter. Is what he's doing. It's very, very cool. So anyhow, there's he's gonna build on that, so I'll spend a lot of time there. It's kind of in a hippie community too, which is kind of fun. And
that's fun.
Yeah, it's a serious course though, and but there's ponds on there that haven't been fished in 15, 20 years. So that's what I'm.
Oh man, you should have a heyday there, man.
Oh man, I'm just so beyond blessed for the people that have been placed in my life. Not anything I've worked for, just that they naturally came into my life. Spiritually, or just I have the best community on there, the most supportive people. I mean, there's always some people that you kind of pseudo cut out because it might be a little toxic, but I literally have nothing to complain about. Even if music wasn't going well, I just have the best people on.
That's good
So
that you feel that way, man. It's good to
yeah,
have gratitude about your life, about the simple things, I think, anyway.
sure. Oh, you got to for sure. So yeah, I guess those are my hobbies. I guess my biggest hobby is doing nothing. I love doing nothing because I'm
Do
always
you?
doing nothing. Yeah,
Congratulations. I wish I could do that.
I'm not very good at it. Um, it's I have a hard time with it, but I do try to get one rest day a week. But
Good.
it doesn't turn out a Shabbat essentially.
All right, man. Last question, Tyler. What is the thing in your life that's making you happiest or giving you the most joy or satisfaction right now?
Boy, I think right now to make me the happiest, I'd be sitting on Libby Hill in Richmond, Virginia, with my best friend.
There you go.
The thing that is currently making me the happiest is, I guess that those things are an option, and that there's something else beyond this point. And if this is pretty good, I would assume the next thing's pretty good too.
Thank you, man. Hey, listen, I want to first of all thank you very much for your time and for being so cool and so open. I want to wish you a ton of continued success, and I hope you'll come back on here again after you release your next record or at some point in time in the future, so we can look back and talk about, yeah, you had just come on here after you released the EP from St. Petersburg, and now you've got 3 other records, and life is different. So I would really like that, and I hope that happens for you, man.
Well,
Let me tell people, oh man, my pleasure, honestly. I love your music, and I wish you nothing but success with you and the rest of the guys in the band. Everybody, I would love you to check out Feel's music. It's the URL. Their website is the band called Feel, Feel. But if you just go on, like I use Apple, I don't know if Spotify is probably similar. Just enter Feel, and you'll see it come up. And right now, like I said, it's just this EP live from St. Petersburg. But I'm suspecting in the next 6 months to a year, you'll have other things up there to listen to. If you are also follow the band, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, and they're on Facebook, all at the band called Feel. If you are in the St. Louis area, go check out Blue Note Vintage for vintage guitars, clothing, and vinyl. And if you are Tyler we didn't talk about this, but Tyler does a lot of production and he really enjoys that. If you're interested in working with Tyler in a producer standpoint, and at his Harbor studio where he's at right now, do this. DM him on Instagram. On Instagram, you could follow him at Tyler Armstrong Music. I can't read my writing. This is just awful. I had to look up Armstrong. I butchered your last name. I don't even know what it looks like. It's like Albanian or something I wrote it. Anyway, so if you're interested in working with Tyler as a production capacity, DM him on Instagram. Send him a link to your music and what you're looking for, what makes you reach out to him today, what do you think he could add in the mix. And if you do all those things, this way he can get back to you with an intelligent and competent and caring response. But please send him music at a minimum and let him know what's up, because if you don't send him your music, how the hell he's going to know if you're a fit. And that's about it. Anything else we could promote, man?
Nah, not anything I need to promote about myself. But even if it's not related to production, if you just got anything to say to me and want to chat, just please reach out. I look at everything that's sent to me. I don't. It's cool. Just let's chat.
Good.
That's good.
There you go. Don't expect him to give you a response if you say, I love your album. I mean, he'll say, you just don't have response time for all that stuff. But it's nice that you're welcome to that stuff.
I will respond. I respond to every single thing.
Do you really? That's
I really
cool.
do.
I respond to most things. I don't respond to a lot of, and this is a blessing. I get a lot of pitches for people to come on the show. I just can't respond to all of them. And I'm very, but don't get me wrong. I'm so grateful that people like the show, but I can't respond to everybody. All right, man. And thank you. Any final words of wisdom?
My dad lived to be 59 and not 60. And in his eulogy, I said he lived like he was going to be 59 and not 60. So I guess live like you're going to be 59 and not 60.
Right on, man. And sorry about that. No, I know it's been heavy for you. So thanks for sharing all that stuff. Man, thank you for everything. I appreciate it. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to Tyler Armstrong, and best of luck and continued success to the band called Feel. Another thanks to Greg Martin for always hooking me up with some amazingly cool, nice, kind people. And most important, everybody remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play guitar, and have fun. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Tyler, thank you so much for everything, brother.
Awesome, man. Thanks.